This is the Hot Take Podcast, serving you sports entertainment news from around the nation at a fraction of the time.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Hot Take Sports Podcast. I'm Brandon. Hope everyone is killing it during these times, staying safe, and missing football just like us. Before we get into anything, I just want to say thank you for enjoying our last video. It means so much to us that you clicked and you listened and you took what we had to say. We put a lot of effort into it and a lot of work into it, and it means a lot to us, and we're going to continue to bring the hottest takes in sports entertainment. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at HotTakePC. We changed the Twitter handle at HotTakePC, PC meaning podcast. We just hit 300 followers on Twitter. Round of applause, everyone. Round of applause. Hell yeah from Thomas, like the tradition. So 300 followers on Twitter. We're growing. Our view count is growing and we're happy. Today we're going to bring you the winners and losers from the 2020 draft. And we bring you the predicted record for every team in the NFL. I hope you're ready. Now let me introduce the professional gentleman that we have today that is going to bring you the hottest takes in sports entertainment. We have Jacob. Jacob, say what's up.
How's it going, y'all? I really appreciate being here. Week 2, getting excited for this season upcoming. Just excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have Tristan. Tristan, say what's up, man.
How you doing? Glad to be here. Can't wait to talk about some more football. Give a little recap.
Let's get it. Colin, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Glad to be back on this Hot Take Podcast. Let's get it rolling, baby.
Conrad, you're next. Say what's up to the fans.
What is up?
What's up? Thomas?
Yeah.
What is going on, bro?
Man, I'm fresh off of averaging 10.8 hand washes per day last week, and it's going to keep on growing in these tough times, just like my hair. But put all that aside, let's talk some football with my friends again.
Let's get it going.
And just like Thomas said, that is what we'll do. We'll talk about football and bring the hottest takes and sports entertainment. So to start off, we're going to get right into it. We're all going to bring you our winners from the draft, starting off with Thomas. Thomas, who's your winner from the 2020 NFL draft?
Yeah, my big winner is the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson got more help in the form of a second-round pick, J.K. Dobbins, who ranked second all-time in rushing yards at Ohio State. Dobbins should be an excellent tag team back with Mark Ingram. Baltimore then doubled down with Texas receiver Devin Duvernay, who had 1,386 yards and 10 touchdowns last season. In the third round, that's when they picked him. He has the goods to be an excellent passing possession receiver. And then I also have an honorable mention. Coach Belichick and his dog. That dog was such a good boy when they showed him. I was watching with my grandma, and it just made her whole day. So props to Belichick for raising such a good boy. So that's my biggest winner.
Thanks, Thomas. That dog was cute. Tristan, what you got? Who's the winner of the 2020 draft?
My winner of the 2020 draft, I've got the Minnesota Vikings. They got a steal with Justin Jefferson at number 22, and then they got Jeff Gladney at number 31. Justin Jefferson honestly has a chance to be one of the best slot receivers in this draft, and he will perfectly replace Stephon Diggs in that offense. Also, Jeff Gladney has elite ball skills and will be one of the best corners in the game in about 2 or 3 years. Vikings improved greatly on both sides of the ball. They didn't have to trade up to do so. They actually traded back to get Gladney. So that's my winner. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, good stuff, Tristan. If you go back and watch our last video, I actually had the Vikings picking Gladney, so I was pretty happy about that pick, that I was right. I'll go next. For my winner, I had the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals, come on. They took Joe Burrow.
When you draft the best, you are the best.
That is exactly what I'm saying. They earned that 2-14 record last season. They earned it. So they got the best quarterback in college football history last year. And he's the it factor that they need to escape the rut that they're in. And not only getting Joe Burrow, they got T. Higgins, 33rd pick. He caught touchdowns from a future first round pick, potentially the first pick in the 2021 NFL draft. So, and they also got Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis linebackers, the 65th and 107th pick, to improve one of the league's worst units from a year ago. Wilson in particular was a steal. He hauled in 10 career interceptions, 249 solo tackles, and 34 of them being for losses. I mean, when you get Joe Burrow, when you get the first pick and you win by getting a pick like Joe, to me that's a winner. That's a winner. And getting T. Higgins, Joe Burrow's gonna be throwing past the T. Higgins and AJ Green. They won the draft to me.
It's a stunning lineup.
Yeah, it's a good lineup. Jacob, who you got? Winning?
I agree with you, Brandon. The Bengals stealing Joe Burrow, one of the best picks in the draft. But I have to agree with Tristan on this one. I have the Minnesota Vikings as well. I think with them replacing Stephon Diggs as early as they did in the draft with Justin Jefferson with his experience in slot and wideout, he'll be a great fit to this offensive scheme. Another main need was their cornerback issue. They drafted 3 of them. Primarily Jeff Gladney from TCU again. Ball skills, awareness, all excellent. I believe they drafted smart. They picked their cards correctly with just drafting 2 of their main holes in the first round to add up enough space in the next 6. And just looking at analytics, professionals rate their draft one of the highest. So I think they are the winners of the draft.
Which, I'm being honest, when I saw the Vikings pick up Jefferson, it kind of hurt my heart a little bit.
Me too, because I'm a Packers fan, and
that was rough.
It sucked.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Justin Jefferson from St. Charles, which is really, really fun to see. I would say my winner of the draft would probably be the Cleveland Browns. They landed arguably the draft's best offensive tackle at number 10 overall in Jedrick Wills. On day 2, the Browns watched as LSU safety Grant Delpit fell into their lap. He was regarded as a first-round pick, while defensive tackle Jordan Elliott was a former 5-star recruit who could become the best defensive tackle in the class. The value continued on day 3 with the additions of interior offensive lineman Nick Harris, wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, and tight end Harrison Bryant. The one selection that did not draw inspiration was linebacker Jacob Phillips. Depending on whether these picks crash and burn or cooperate to give the team momentum through the season will be a test of time. One thing's for certain, Baton Rouge North looks pretty good from down here. Back to you, Brendan.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, that LSU squad is repping in Cleveland. It's pretty cool to see. Conrad,
absolutely.
Conrad, who's the winner? Who's the winner of the draft?
All right, hear me out.
We're listening.
I'm going to throw a little curveball at y'all.
All right.
My winner of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins.
That's not. I'm not shocked by that.
In fact, I just home run your curveball, Conrad.
Thank you for home running it. But they had very balanced picks. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins have holes in their team. Obviously. They've been trying to rebuild since the 70s, since their Super Bowl run in the 70s. They sought to fill holes. They filled them. They got Tua. They got Austin Jackson out of USC, second pick. They got Noah, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, from Auburn, cornerback. A+ rating. I think that they are the winner of this draft. They're top 5 in the most picks in the draft. I believe Minnesota has the most number of picks because of the amount of trades that they had. But the Dolphins were right up there with 11 picks. So, my winner, the Dolphins.
I agree with that.
All right, I'm going to take it over with the losers of the draft. Them damn Packers. They're pretty big losers, but that's not who I'm going with. I don't actually have a problem with them making an affirmative move and going get Love. I do have a problem with them not picking a wide receiver the rest of the draft after that. But, it's called Hot Takes Podcast. I'm going to give you one right here. A big loser of the draft, the Denver Broncos. Team president John Elway clearly wanted to supply new starting quarterback Drew Lock with weapons. And he did that with Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler with the first of Denver's 2 picks. But the problem is that they didn't do too much to assure that Locke will be properly protected and given adequate time to get the ball to his new studs. While Elway drafted a center of the future in Cushenberry from LSU, Denver did not select an offensive tackle. That means inconsistent, penalty-prone Garrett Bowles will likely be the starting left tackle in Week 1. That was my biggest loser.
Yeah, I'm going to build off of what Thomas said. I think everyone sitting at this table right here can say that the Packers lost the draft. I think America, or even the world that was watching the draft, could say that the Packers easily had the worst draft in 2020.
Oh, 100%.
And that's not to pick at you, Jacob. I'm really not picking at you. Jacob's a
Don't
Packers fan.
worry.
If you were listening,
Don't
you know he's a Packers fan. I'm not picking at him because we like to pick at him, but I think anybody could say the Packers lost, but I'm going to say the Falcons. The Falcons, to me, were a loser in the 2020 draft. The pick that stunned me was A.J. Terrell at number 16. Let's be real. They're not a cornerback away from the Super Bowl. They're not a cornerback away from the Super Bowl. The Cowboys had the same problem. They picked CeeDee Lamb. There were so many better options. They had Noah Igbeneghu, Conrad, that's how you pronounce his name. Jeff Gladney out of TCU, and Jalen Johnson out of Utah. They were all still available. They were all better than Terrell. I think it's way too high. I think Marlon Davidson is a solid pick. He can move inside the defensive tackle and interior offensive lineman. Matt Hennessy has some versatility. Linebacker Michael Walker, that went 119th pick, went almost 100 spots before Mel Kiper had him in his rankings. I think the first round pick at A.J. Terrell was just a mistake, and it kind of ruined their whole draft. I think it was a reach of a draft. I don't think, like I said, they're not a cornerback away from the Super Bowl, and he wasn't the best cornerback in the draft. So, biggest loser, Falcons. Conrad, who you have?
So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but my biggest loser is the Packers. Sorry, Jacob. Apologize. Their picks were just unbalanced. It was too offensive heavy. The Packers are an offensive team. They already have a decent offense going for them. On their defense, they have names I've never even heard of before, and they didn't fill any holes on defense. So I have the Packers.
I agree with that one. I would say I would keep it on the NFC North, but I would say the Bears had a pretty big loss in the NFL draft this year. The tight end position was not a pressing need, so it's kind of hard to justify the selection of Cole Kmet in the second round. Cornerback Jalen Johnson is a great player, but was only on the board because he had been dealing with an injury. Edge rusher Travis Gibson was picked way too early. Cornerback Kittle Vildor, was a solid pick. He's a feisty competitor who can step in and fulfill a nickel role. Tulane wide receiver Darnell Mooney has great speed, but needs to kind of continue his development a little bit. Chicago ended the event by adding two relatively unknown prospects, offensive lineman Arlington Hambright and Latavius Simmons. I'd say the Bears would be a pretty big loss in their draft this season.
Yes, Colin, I agree with you. The Bears had a really, really bad draft, but I'm going to bring it back to the Packers.
No shock there.
Yes, I'm a Packers fan by heart, but, man, I just need to talk about this. So their main need was a wide receiver in the biggest wide receiver class in history, but they didn't draft it. I'm not mad that they drafted Love. I'm not mad that they drafted a running back in the second round. It's nice, solid picks that can help the future. But when it came to the 3rd through 7th rounds, why didn't you pick one up? Donald Driver, who leads the Packers in all-time reception yards, was a 7th round pick. And just to add on to that, Aaron Rodgers has only one touchdown thrown to a first-round pick in his entire career. I believe that the picks in the later rounds on the defense are not really going to help out that well. Heading into next year, I think they're looking for the future instead of the present with the young quarterback and the young running back picks. And I just think they had the worst draft out of everybody. Tristan, you're next.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, for my draft loser, I've got the Carolina Panthers. They had the 7th overall pick, and they took Derek Brown. But if you look at the draft, Isaiah Simmons was still on the board. He went a pick after. Carolina lost Luke Kuechly this past offseason, and they could have literally drafted a better version of him and Simmons. Honestly, in my opinion, he's one of the best prospects in this draft. Just watch his film at Clemson. When the Panthers tried to explain why, they said that Simmons was the better athlete, but he would fit better on a veteran team because of his ability to play multiple positions. That just doesn't make sense to me. When you watch Simmons play, he bounces all over the field, making tackles, grabbing interceptions, and forcing fumbles. In my opinion, you can't pass up on a linebacker of his caliber when he literally falls in your lap.
Thanks, Tristan.
That was very well said.
That was, very well said. Isaiah Simmons, one of the best players in the first round.
Matter of fact, you just changed my mind about the biggest loser.
Now, that was the winners and the losers from the 2020 NFL Draft. If you like those, if you hated those, let us know in the comments. Tweet at us at HotTakePC, at HotTakePC. Let us know. Let us know what you think. Now we're going to transition to team record predictions. Now, this is going to be based off of off-season moves. This is going to be based off of their draft performance and based off of their current rosters. And we're going to go in alphabetical order. So we'll start off with the Arizona Cardinals. And I have the Arizona Cardinals. I have the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to go 8-8. Cardinals are going to go 8-8. Notable teams that they play. They play the Dallas Cowboys. They play the New England Patriots. They play the Los Angeles Rams. And, of course, they played the Rams twice, the 49ers twice, and the Seahawks twice. In their division, I have them going 3-3, splitting that. I think, they'll take one from the Rams. They'll take one from the Seahawks, but I think the 49ers, they also take one from the 49ers. And also, I think they take a loss in Dallas to the Cowboys. I think they sneak one out in Foxborough, actually, against this hurting Patriots team and Bill Belichick losing Tom Brady. And they've added DeAndre Hopkins, so that's gonna help them out. They'll go better than their 5-10-1 record last year. But 8-8 is what I got the Arizona Cardinals. And the next team we got up is the Atlanta Falcons. Who has the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, that's me, Brandon.
All right.
So mainly for me, I want to focus more on who the Falcons added and who the Falcons lost. And it's almost even in terms of they gained Todd Gurley. I mean, and if he could, stay healthy, which arthritis sucks very badly, then they got a good rusher right there. And they replaced Austin Hooper with Kyrie Lee and Hayden Hurst. But they lost Desmond Trufant to the Lions. So their defense is filled with holes. Vic Beasley's gone. But Matt Ryan still has one of the top targets in the league, and that's Julio Jones. He's amassed over 1,000 receiving yards in each of his last 6 seasons. Calvin Ridley emerged as another strong option. They're going to, no matter how bad the Falcons are, which they're going to be pretty bad this year. 5-11 is what I got them going. They're going to be 2-4 in the division. They're going to squeak one out against the Saints. But that's how I think they're going to do. 5-11. And we're going to move on to the Baltimore Ravens.
Tristan, I think you have the Ravens, right? Tristan?
My bad, I was on mute. But yeah, the Ravens coming off a tough loss in the playoffs last year, but they still have last year's NFL MVP Lamar Jackson commanding the offense. I think they're gonna have another great year. They have a new wide receiver, Devin Duvernay, out of Texas. He'll be joining the likes of Willie Snead, Marcus Hollywood Brown, and Miles Boykin. So the speed and athleticism of this passing attack will be one of the best in the league. Running backs Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins also have the chance of being the best 1-2 punch in the NFL. And new defensive end Calais Campbell will be a bright spot for this defense that does have a few holes. Cornerback Marcus Peter will continue to be torched by #1 receivers throughout the league. And a subpar linebacker group will have to perform above expectations. Patrick Queen leads this group, but as you know, he will be a first-year starter. Baltimore won't live up to that 14-2 campaign they had last year, but a solid 12-4 record will still allow them to win the division once again. Thank you.
Moving on, we have the Buffalo Bills, Thomas.
Yeah, that's right back to me. I got the Bills going 11-5. I think they're going to win their division. They're going to go 5-1 in their division. And that's strictly based off of their offseason additions. Obviously they traded for Stephon Diggs. They signed Josh Norman in free agency. Defensive tackle Vernon Butler. He had 6 sacks last season. They added defensive end Mario Addison. He replaces Shaq Lawson, who they had lost in free agency. And also Lorenzo Alexander, they lost him. He retired. He's an old man. He gave it a good shot. But to replace Alexander, they steal away from my beloved Saints, A.J. Klein, such a smart linebacker to fill in for Alexander. It just gives him another leader right there in the defense. And Quentin Jefferson just adds more experience. An overall upgrade to the defensive line. They're going to take advantage of this hurt pass squad. But the Patriots are going to hand them their only loss in the division. Like I said, 5-1 in the division. But I think they're going to take it.
Right on, right on. Moving on, the Panthers.
Yeah, that's right back to me. Carolina, they have a new signal caller in Teddy Bridgewater. They're trying to improve off that mere 5-11 season they had last year. Christian McCaffrey just got paid that big contract. He's a candidate for Offensive Player of the Year, coming off what he had last year. I remember having him in fantasy, and just the numbers he would put up every week was just astounding. Panthers, they do have a new wideout in Robbie Anderson. He joins talented wide receivers DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, and all three will look to help Teddy mature into a franchise quarterback rather than just a game manager. Cornerback Dante Jackson, linebacker Shaq Thompson, and free safety Trey Boston will try to help this young Panthers defense, led by newly drafted 7th overall pick Derek Brown. But the lack of depth and experience will slow them down. The Panthers they're going to improve off last year's record, but not by much, missing the playoffs at 6-10. I think that they're going to lose twice to the Saints in the division, twice to the Buccaneers in the division, and then they're going to beat the Falcons twice, leaving them at 2-4 in the division.
Right on. Sounds about right. Moving on, we got the Cincinnati Bengals, my winner of the 2020 draft. Look, I could talk about how much better the Bengals look and how good their roster looks, but let's face it, Joe Burrow, first year, we can't actually say how good he's going to be this year, even though he had one of the best years last year, like you said. Some notable games, they faced the Ravens twice, the Browns twice, and the Steelers twice. I think the Ravens beat them twice. I mean, the Ravens are the Ravens. They're not slowing down. They'll take one from the Browns. They'll take one from the Steelers.
Honestly, they should have went to the AFC Championship game.
The Ravens?
Yes,
absolutely. But the Titans were hot. And again, they faced the Titans, and I think the Titans will continue to build off of their success last season. I think the Titans still will win from the Bengals this year, and I think that has them finishing for me at 6-10 and 2-4 in the division. I'm hoping Joe Burrow is successful, but I think they're going to need more help protecting him. I think and AJ Green and T Higgins, that's some weapons for him, but I just don't see the Bengals excelling to that next level in Joe Burrow's first year. I think it's going to take some more time gelling and like the Browns, I would say. So I have the Bengals going 6-10.
I think you're right on that one about Joe Burrow not doing that. Like his team-wise not doing great in his first year. Look at Patrick Mahomes, right?
I would agree with that, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had a great first year, but did he go all the way? No. His second year comes back, Super Bowl run all the way.
Yeah, I don't know though. Joey Burrow studying his ass off to get that starting job in Cincinnati. I'm gonna go to number 8 or whatever. It's the Chicago Bears. I'll take them. And I didn't necessarily think they had a bad draft. They didn't have an excellent one either. Komet, that pick adds an absurd. This is absurd to me. 10 tight ends on their roster currently.
That's crazy.
Obviously, that's going to get cut down, but just still, But hey, you see a guy and you want him and you take him. They got some very good second round value in Johnson and overall had a decent draft. But what bothers me about this Bears team from really excelling and becoming division champs is just the lack of confidence from Trubisky. I think that's what it is. That he had a pretty good first season, and then he just almost fell off. And I don't think it gets any better this year with the addition of Nick Foles. But this could go either way. It was a tough one to decide. This one, Nick Foles might cause Trubisky to say, "Hey, well, let me get this job. Let me play better," so he doesn't play. Or it might be the opposite way. he might lose confidence with the uncertainty of whether he's going to have a job on Sunday. So I see the Bears going 9-7. They do pretty bad in their division this season. They go 2-4. They take one from the Packers. I see that happen, and then they take one from the Vikings. But the rest, they sweep the Lions. Anyways, but yeah, like I said, Trubisky's a coin flip basically on whether he's going to be good or not this season. And just imagine what this Chicago defense is going to do if Trubisky gets confidence and strings together 8-minute drives and gives them rests. It's going to be horrible for opposing offenses. So 9-7 is what I got the Bears going.
All right. Next up's the Cleveland Browns. I have them going 7-9 and 2-4 in their division. Honestly, they're not really going to do much better than last year. I don't see it happening. They have a pretty moderate schedule. They play the Ravens twice, the Bengals twice, the Steelers twice. Obviously, the Ravens are going 2-0 against them because they're basically a brute force that's not able to be stopped by the division. I have them taking a win and a loss to the Bengals and a win and a loss to the Steelers. The Steelers, they have a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. Who knows how long that's going to stay. He's very injury prone. The Bengals roster's improved. The addition of Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and many notable people that Brandon listed earlier. I still think they need to find a connection with their offense. Despite having a boosted secondary on defense, they need to find that connection on offense. The line needs to start blocking so Baker Mayfield can have protection in the pocket. He's an overrated quarterback as is. But I do think that blocking will help out the team a little bit more, which is why they need to find that chemistry and that connection. Also, Freddie Kitchens was fired last season, so they're starting out with another head coach. Will Kevin Stefanski prove his worth in his debut season? We'll find out.
All right, man. Taking it over to the Cowboys. My bad. The Cowgirls.
He thought about that. We're not even in the division, man. That's a division joke.
Hot takers, he thought about that one hours before this video.
I mean,
just for you.
Hey, look, y'all can't see it, but he's so excited and he's so happy he made that joke.
His
and he
face
didn't
is
stutter
tomato
this
red.
time. He didn't stutter making the joke.
Round of
this
applause
time.
for Jacob.
Anyways. So in the draft, you saw that they took CeeDee Lamb and they took a cornerback in Trevon Diggs. I think this is going to give their defense some help needed in the secondary with Ha and Clinton Dix and the safeties. And with the wide receiver, it's going to give Dak another person to throw to besides Amari Cooper. They're still going to have Zeke in the backfield, so their offense is going to improve by numbers with the addition of CeeDee Lamb in the slot. Dallas hasn't seen a good offense in years, and I think Mike McCarthy heading as new head coach will help this offense a lot. Looking at their schedule, I think there's a few games that you need to look for. They had the Seahawks, they play the Niners, and they play the Ravens. I believe with this new offense, they're going to fall to all of these teams. I think all these teams got better than they did, and the defenses that these teams bring upon them will just be bigger. But I believe when you look at the division, I think they're going to fall once to the Skins, once to the Eagles, and they're going to sweep the Giants. They're going to go 4-2 the division, and they're going to be division champs.
Okay. All right. Take it away.
And next up, I have the Denver Broncos. Thomas, I'm sorry, I know they were your biggest loser.
Yeah.
But their draft, in my opinion, was very awesome. They got 2 fast receivers, which is what they needed ever since trading away Emmanuel Sanders. They needed to complement Courtland Sutton in some way, and they did with drafting Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. Honestly, 2 of the best receivers in the draft out of the largest receiving class. They got a hell of a good center in Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU, which he's arguably, Joe Burrow, arguably the MVP of the national championship for his blocking that he did for Joe Burrow.
There you
go. And they got a tight end that played right alongside Locke and Mizzou, which I think that chemistry is what this team needs. They need to establish this chemistry on offense, especially considering Drew Lock only played 5 games last season. The quarterback situation in Denver has been atrocious the past few years. He only started 5 games, but he was electric. He was 4-1 in those contests, with the only loss to the Chiefs, the Super Bowl champs. Melvin Gordon needs to step up. He needs to get with the program. His previous seasons were not his best seasons. But the Broncos do have a tough schedule, in my opinion. Their division is already as tough as is. They have the Chiefs, which, like the Ravens, they're basically an unstoppable force. The Chargers made some very key accusations this offseason, one of which is Chris Harris Jr. from the Broncos, who's already familiar with their playing scheme. Oakland had a very good draft as well, and they're continuing to build. Their schedule, they also face all of the NFC South teams, so that's a challenge in itself. I have the Broncos going 9-7 and 4-2 in the division.
Yeah, Conrad. I completely agree. You know, the Broncos, they got a very good player to pair along electric Drew Lock, but I'm just worried that if he gets hit a couple times, he's not going to be able to get up that next play. And like you said, he's only started 5 games, and I know he's going to grow confidence over this season, but I just want your quarterback to stay healthy, bro.
Yeah. Drew Lock, even though he started 5 games, I think he showed a lot of promise, especially in those games. Drew Lock looks good. I think they have a test with the Saints next year. I think they'll see. I think next year they'll see what Drew Lock's really made of, and I think it'll be positive. So
I'm excited to see it. I'm very excited.
He's still young, still room for growth.
Right. So as we head into the Lions, all right. So if you're living under a rock, you don't know that the Lions just drafted a cornerback, Jeff Okudah. They also added running back DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Adding these key players, I think it's going to improve their offense and defense, but I don't think it's going to do numbers like people think that it's going to do. They added Geronimo Allison in the offseason from the Packers, but then when they head into the season, I think they're going to fall to the Packers twice. They had the Bucks, the Saints, and the Redskins. They're going to beat the Bucks. I know Tom Brady just went to the Buccaneers, but I feel like this might be one of those fluke games that happens every season. They're going to fall to the Saints for sure. When it comes to the Skins just got that new defense, yes, but I think the Lions are going to take over that. So they're going to lose half their games. They're going to go 8-8 in the season. Heading to the division, they're going to fall to the Packers twice, and once to both the Bears and the Vikings. They're going to go 2-4 in the division. It's not a great year for the Lions, but it's a step from last year. I think it's going to do wonders heading into year 2 with this new Lions offense and defense. All right, so now draft losers heading to the Packers. So when you're a draft loser, you're not a loser. So I think looking at this Packers, I think they're trying to mimic the 49ers on this run-heavy, big defense playbook. Do I think it's going to work out? I can't really tell, but they have some potential. With the addition of Devin Funchess in the offseason, I don't think it's enough for Aaron Rodgers as much as targets. But I think it's still the same group of guys who went 13-3 last season. So I'm just hoping they let Rodgers throw the ball more than Jimmy G. A few games to look at: the Bucks, Saints, 49ers, and the Vikings. I think the Packers are gonna, with their new offense, will scramble a win with the Buccaneers. They're gonna fall to the Saints and the 49ers, and they're gonna fall to the Vikings once, leaving them with a record of 12-4. So overall, in their division, they're gonna fall to the Vikings once, but they're gonna sweep everybody else. I don't think the Bears and the Lions improved enough in this season to come back and win games, but I think they're gonna go 5-1 in the division, reigning division champs.
Yeah, I want to ask you a cool question. What did you say in the beginning about the Packers? If you're draft losers, what?
You're not a loser.
Wait, can you explain? I think the people at home are like.
The world wants to know.
Give that guy a dictionary.
So you're saying if they're draft losers, they're not losers?
And I think they had a terrible draft. I think everybody knows they had a terrible draft, but then coming to the regular season, they're gonna make it work. Their draft wasn't the greatest, but I think they're gonna still recoup from this terrible draft into the season.
Okay.
So they didn't. Okay, they lost the draft, but they're not going to lose the season.
Yes.
They're going to pick up right where they left off.
Yes.
So you feel like the Packers, they're going to have one of the best records in the league?
I believe so because they have the GOAT, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, let's
And I'm
not
not only
start,
saying that.
let's not start that GOAT debate. Let's get off this real
I
quick.
agree.
Moving on, I have the Houston Texans. This offseason has not been a good offseason for the Houston Texans. Losing Hopkins and the turmoil from Bill O'Brien with his racist remarks and talking to Hopkins like that.
Get that guy out of there.
He needs to go. I think
Yeah.
Texas fans thinks he need to go. And the rumors and the pressures of Deshaun Watson with him leaving, I think all this turmoil is going to cause some doubt within the team. So, notable games, the Houston Texans, they play the Packers, they play the Vikings, they play the Patriots, and they play the Super Bowl champs and the Chiefs in Kansas City. That's a big one. And they play the Titans. And also, a team I think is going to be much better than people think they are is the Indianapolis Colts. With that signing of Phillip Rivers, I think they have a chance to do better than everyone thinks they're going to do. So I think the Colts steal a win from the Texans. Obviously, they lose. I said they lose to the Chiefs and the Titans. I have them going 8-8 this season. Again, I think that the rumors and the tension in the team is going to cause them to do worse than they did last year. They're not making the playoffs, and I think I'm going to make a hot take. Before the end of the season, Bill O'Brien's going to be out of there. They'll have a new coach there.
Whoa.
I mean, let's be real. Texans fans want him out. I think the players even want him out. DeAndre Hopkins said he had no relationship with him, and he was there. How long he was there? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
I want to say 4 years. But
Four plus years.
Yeah.
4+ years, and you made it to multiple playoff games, and you don't have a relationship with the coach. And DeAndre Hopkins being debatable, the best wide receiver in the NFL. Next to Michael Thomas.
Where he didn't have any drops.
It doesn't matter how long you're there. If you're the franchise guy and your coach doesn't put in the effort for it, get him out of there.
Get him out. And I remember DeAndre Hopkins went on with, I think it was Michael Strahan, some icon, and said that before he left, that Bill O'Brien called him in the office and said, "I don't want to see your baby mamas in the audience anymore." Because he has multiple kids and multiple different moms. I think that was extremely rude. You definitely don't tell I'm going to say this. I think Michael Thomas is one of the best, but no one can argue that DeAndre Hopkins is just as elite. So I think you saying those kind of things to DeAndre Hopkins, not good. That's why he left, and that's why the Houston Texans are going to suck this year. I have them going 8-8, but room for error, they're worse.
Yep. Yeah, I got a question for Brandon though. So how many games do you think he's gonna last as the head coach?
I say when they're officially eliminated from playoff contention, he's out. And I think that'll be before December.
Yeah, I give it to week 10, week 11.
I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, give that guy a map and get out of there.
I agree with Thomas.
I don't like Bill O'Brien.
I think the Texans need a lot of help, especially in the head coach. And I do think that with Houston coming in, I think with the Colts coming in I think the Colts having a new addition in Phillip Rivers, I think it's going to help them out a lot in the regular season. I don't think they're going to win the division, though. I picked the Titans winning their division, but I give the Colts a solid 10-6 with a 3-3 division record. Here's the deal with the Colts. They're not a bad team. And you can say, oh, well, I guess losing Andrew Luck was probably a bad reason. Forget all of that. One tight end, one of the really good receiver slots all season that they got is a guy named Eric Ebron, who had a great year in 2018, 66 receptions for 750 yards and 13 touchdowns, but only managed 375 yards for 3 scores and 11 games in an injury-shortened campaign last year. With their wide receiver Devin Funchess, who really didn't get a chance to catch on with the team due to a broken collarbone last year, is gone as well. Funchess only started one game for Indianapolis last season, and he'll try to get his career going with Green Bay. I think the 2 games against Houston, they'll either win one and lose the other one. And I think with Tennessee, I don't think they're going to win. I actually changed that and put it as a 2-4. I think Tennessee will beat both of those games. And so I have the Colts going in at 10-6. Going in next with the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions. I think they're going to pick up right where they left off and have another division championship, and I think they'll go 13-3 with the 4-2 division. I don't see their schedule being as difficult as it was last season. They start off with Baltimore, and they work their way through and play Jacksonville twice, and they play Indianapolis also. I think a game to look for is against the Green Bay Packers. I think that would have been a really cool Super Bowl experience if we just saw them against the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. But just going off of their front office, they received a lot of positive press for bringing both Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry back for the 2020 season. The unfortunate truth for fans in Nashville is that playing high-priced stars for career years rarely works out for the franchise writing the checks. That goes for the Titans, excuse me. So I'll go in with the Chiefs at 13-3. Now for the Chargers, I do believe that losing Phillip Rivers does hurt them a little bit. And sorry guys, just gonna pull this up real quick. The Chargers made a couple of moves in their bolster their offensive line, performing a lineman swap with the Panthers, trading Russell Okung to Carolina and acquiring Try Turner, while also signing Brian Bugala away from the Packers. The Chargers also made some moves to improve their defense by inking Chris Harris to a deal to stay within the AFC West after playing for the Denver Broncos since being drafted in 2011. I would say for the Titans it would be a 13-3 season and a 5-1 division championship, because you can't stop the Titans when you have Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry on that slot. They almost went all the way to the Super Bowl if they didn't get botched out by the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a really, really good season for them. I think the only competition they really have to worry about is mainly Indianapolis, and I think Indianapolis wouldn't be as much of a challenge to them as it was in recent years.
Yeah, I'm going to take over with the Rams real quick. Let me just start off with their losses. It's dumbfounding how many solid players that they've lost. Ty Gurley, Dante Fowler, Roby Coleman. I don't like that guy. Of course. Corey Littleton, Clay Matthews, and even Greg the Leg. He's with the Cowboys now. And Jared Goff, disappointed this season. He threw 10 fewer touchdown passes. He threw 22. And he threw 4 more interceptions. That's not a good ratio. You should not be doing that. And passer rating, not really a good stat to go by, but his went down by almost 20 points. They had a pretty quiet day, but it turned busy. They had a pretty quiet day, draft day, day 1. Wow, can't speak. It turned into a busy day on day 2, as the Rams have multiple selections in rounds 2 and 3. Cam Akers, their pick, he's used to running behind shaky offensive lines at Florida State, so he's going to have no problem here in Los Angeles. Although Andrew Whitworth, playing for 3 more years, LSU made, good guy right there. They go 7-9. They're going to regress. They just lost too much, and they're not replacing him. And it's going to take a little while. They're going to go 2-4 in the division. They're going to lose to the Bills. They're going to lose to the 49ers both games. You beat the Cardinals both games. They're going to lose to the Seattle Seahawks both games. They're going to go 2-4 in the division. They're going to get revenge on the Patriots, though, and I think they're going to beat them at the Coliseum. Oh, excuse me, not the Coliseum.
So far.
And so, 7-9, that's where I see them regressing. Let's move on to the next pick.
Tristan?
Not pick.
Yep, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jaguars offense, they have LSU products, DJ Chark Jr. and Leonard Fournette. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. Gardner Minshew is the wild card, but he has shown at times he can be a solid starter. But he also was benched last year in favor of Nick Foles. And with Foles out the picture now, it's up to Minshew to lead this offense. He has talent to work with, especially with an underrated receiving group of Chark, D.D. Westbrook, Chris Conley, and rookie Laviska Shenault Jr. And adding both cornerbacks C.J. Henderson and edge rusher Caleb Archeson in the first round adds to an improving Jags defense, who already have breakout stars Josh Allen and Miles Jack. The one dark spot on the defense side of the ball is at both safety positions, with largely unknown strong safety Ronnie Harrison and free safety Jared Wilson. Jaguars will improve largely off the 6-10 year they had in 2019, going 9-7, with key wins against the Packers and the Texans twice. 9-7 will give them a chance to grab the last playoff spot, and they will get that number 7 seed in the AFC. And then I think I have the Miami Dolphins next. The Dolphins, they're looking to improve off that 5-11 season they had last year. They're going to have to rely on a talented cornerback group of Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, and first-round pick Noah Igbenogany, and a lead defensive end group that consists of Christian Wilkins, Emmanuel Ogbah, and Shaq Lawson. And if their improving defense, led by new linebacker Kyle Van Noy, can keep them in games, the firepower of Tua Tagovailoa, joined with top-tier wide receiver Devontae Adams, speedy slot receiver Albert Wilson, and veteran Allen Hurns, it should allow them to improve on their disappointing 5-11 campaign. The Dolphins also drafted a quality offensive lineman in Austin Jackson that helps Tua stay protected. I see the Dolphins producing a surprising 8-8 record, grabbing key wins against the Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks. No playoff berth this year for Miami, but the future is bright. Thank you, and we go to the Minnesota Vikings.
Thank you, Tristan. I have the Minnesota Vikings. I have them going 10-6 overall, 5-1 in the division. They have a rather difficult schedule, but seeing their history, I think they're gonna continue to be a winning team. The last season that they went 8-8 or worse was the 2016-2017 season, which is a long time ago in case you didn't know. They'll continue to be explosive on the offensive front. They had a major loss in the Diggs trade. I know it's sad, but they drafted Justin Jefferson, who in my opinion is a huge improvement from Diggs. Defensively, they added a pile of stars to the draft class. 9 of the 15 picks were from the defense, so they had a mostly defensive draft. I have them going 10-6, 5-1 in the division. I have them beating the Packers twice, the Bears once, and the Lions twice.
I'm sorry, Connor. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. In my opinion, they're not going to sweep the Packers.
That's why we do this. We
Yeah.
all have our own.
That's a very hot take.
We all have our. That is a hot take.
It's a very biased opinion by Jacob.
Jacob, I'll give you $1 if they don't sweep.
Put 10 on the table.
Oh, I ain't got that much. They don't pay me
Too
enough
much
for this.
now.
You don't give them the.
They don't pay me enough for this podcast. I got that.
Coming up next, we have probably the most successful team in NFL history of the New England Patriots. Whether you like it or not, they still have Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time.
Absolutely without.
I mean, you could say that he's not going to be as good with Brady or better. We don't know. All we know is that Bill Belichick is still going to be the stud he is, but that's not going to be able to control the team on the field as much as he would like it to. With, as it looks right now, Brian Hoyer is day one starter, or Stidham from Auburn, who hasn't played a snap, I don't think. So notable games from them. For them, they have the Raiders, they have the Cardinals, and they have the 49ers. But those are all in Foxborough, so they got home field advantage. But again, they also play the Ravens. I just think the Ravens are just going to be looking for revenge this year. I think the Ravens take one, even though it's in Foxborough. So my record prediction for them is 9-6-1. I feel like we had to throw a tie in there. Especially since we don't know the state of the Patriots team that's going to come up this year. I think they go to East Rutherford at the Jets and they tie one time. They tie. That's my hot take. That's my hot take for the season.
As long as you're making it. I hate ties.
They will tie with the Jets once. I just feel like with this team, I don't know. I feel like it's a good chance.
So backing off 9, you said what, 9-6-1?
9-6-1.
So say they do lower. You think that's going to hurt Bill Belichick's reputation as a head coach?
Not at all. I think honestly,
100% it will.
You think so?
Off a media standpoint, now you gotta, people who know football, they're gonna say, man, he's such a great coach, and so it's not going to bother them that much. Yeah, you have one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Of course, you're going to play better. And Brian Hoyer, like, are you kidding me? Of course, they're going to lose more games than if they didn't have Tom Brady. But from the media, I think they're going to say none of it was his fault, and it was all Tom Brady.
That's the bad thing about the media. They're going to lose.
Exactly.
They're probably going to lose 6 or 7 games this year. I have them losing 6, but they might lose more. And the media is going to be like, Bill Belichick is bad. Bill Belichick only had Tom Brady, which is not the case at all.
I think one thing you need to look at if you're looking at the media is that they look at new things that are very, very shiny, and they go into that and figure out like, okay, what's the big thing from this little shiny thing instead of looking at the broad picture.
I completely agree with that, Colin. So we can talk about the Patriots and the state of their team all day, but we're not going to do that. We're going to move into the New Orleans Saints.
Who dat?
I mean, the Who Dat Nation will be very happy this year. The Who Dat Nation will be happy with this prediction. The New Orleans Saints, they have, I think, I don't want to say a hard schedule, but they face the Packers, the Vikings, the Chiefs, and the 49ers. But the good thing for the Who Dat Nation is that that's all in New Orleans.
Hell yeah.
So every single game is in the Dome. You have the Packers in the Dome, you have the Vikings in the Dome, you have the Chiefs. Talk about exciting games. How much you want to bet Drew Brees versus Pat Mahomes? That's going to be prime time. Whether that's Thursday night, Sunday night, or Monday night, that will be at night.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
I'll be surprised if it wasn't as well.
And I really hope it goes way past the 50 burgers that the Rams and the Chiefs had a long time back.
And I wanted to talk about this. Thank you for bringing up that game because I was going to bring that up. I think that was one of the best environments because that was in LA. That game, the high-scoring game in Monday Night Football history.
It was supposed to be in Mexico, but they had to move it due to the field.
That was true. And I would watching and listening to that game. I'd say even though Rams have one of the worst fan bases, that's unbiased. Their ticket sales are low.
Rams and Chargers.
The Rams and Chargers. I mean, putting 2 teams in one city, that's what you'll get.
Ridiculous.
Unbiased opinion. But I'll say this: Pat Mahomes has achieved a lot. He's an MVP. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won that game. Even though he lost that game, he put up a hell of a fight. But I'll tell you this: unbiased. Even though I'm a Saints fan, unbiased. I guarantee you, Pat Mahomes has never, ever, I've been to Saints games all my life, never, ever experienced an atmosphere like he's going to experience in the Dome.
I think that's a bigger hot take than anybody at this table is going to experience.
That is when Pat Mahomes. I think Pat Mahomes is one of the most loved figures in all sports. In all sports, but I promise you, when he goes up for that first drive in the Dome, it's going to be like a playoff game. Because the Who Dat Nation and the Saints roster knows that a win against the Chiefs would put them higher on the map than they already are.
Yes, sir.
So Pat Mahomes going that first drive, I think that's going to be something that he's never experienced before. Even though I'm not saying that I think Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. As much as I love Drew Brees, Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. But again, like I said, he hasn't experienced anything like he's going to experience. We don't have the dates yet. But when that day, he's going to be thinking about it all day. I bet you he's going to be asking all the experts. He's going to be asking all ex-players who have played in the Dome, hey, what is the advice to get to capitalize on a third down play in the Dome? I think he's going to be thinking about it all day, and I think the Saints pick up wins against the Chiefs. I think that's their biggest win of the season. I have the Saints finishing 13-3 this year, continuing their 13-3 streak. And I don't know. I hope the Saints don't choke again. But yeah, 13-3. I think that Kansas City game is going to be the biggest game of the season. I think they pick up a win against the 49ers. They'll be looking for revenge from what George Kittle did to them last year. Yep. But I think that's going to be a big game as well. But I'm excited for that Saints. I think a football fan is excited for the Chiefs-Saints game. Yes. You have the future versus the future, which is already here, versus one of the GOATs and who we have in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Drew Brees versus Pat Mahomes. I'm excited for the game. Saints going 13-3.
That was incredibly said. Absolutely. That's all passion. That's what you get when you listen to Hot Takes Podcast.
That's exactly right.
I'd like to point out.
You want to say something?
I'd like to point out. I agree with you that the Saints-Chiefs game will probably be one of the most watched games in the NFL this season. Why? That should have been the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yes,
it should have been the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Let me bounce off with you with that. Remember that heartbreaking game against the Rams? We all felt
I was
that
there.
emotion and everything.
I was there. I was in the dome.
It was probably one of the most insane games that we've ever seen at the final finish and everything. I think when you look back at it, there was a lot of people hyping up Jared Goff and not a whole lot of people hyping up Drew Brees. Of course, people in New Orleans are going to hype up Drew Brees because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks that the Saints have ever seen and the world has ever seen as well.
Savior.
I mean, let's talk about the 5-4-0 and the 5-4 last season. You know what I mean? Like, it's different things like that you can put on a pedestal of Drew Brees and keep him there for as long as time.
Throw on top of that a $5 million donation to just the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, to help all this through these tough times. I mean, he's an incredible man.
You can love him, you can hate him because he's torched your team before. Especially, I know NFC South teams are not very fond, and NFC South fans are not very fond of Drew Brees. But this dude goes beyond the football field. Look what he did when he came in. I know we're predicting teams, but this needs to be said. This dude came in 2006, took one of the worst teams historically in the NFL. The Saints sucked. The Saints were probably they were the laughing stock in the NFL for the longest time, even with Archie Manning. And when him and Sean Payton came, and Reggie Bush came, and Marcus Colston, those guys, Devery Henderson, they turned Steve Gleason. I mean and they played it on the TV a few weeks ago. First game they blocked the punt.
That's when men cried.
Men cried that day. I agree with you, Thomas. It revolutionized the Saints, and I think it kind of had an impact on football as a whole, on generating passion from players that NFL rookies who haven't played much yet, seeing that experience, because that was the beginning of the season. I think, especially in Reggie Bush and other players that came in that season, saw the passion that those fans saw, and I think it kind of spread throughout the NFL. And I think you love or hate Drew Brees, but that $5 million donation is, that $5 million donation, that guy, his love for football goes beyond the field. You have to love this guy. Any other opinions before we move on?
Yeah, and like you said, just that block punt and that 2016 as a whole, just of what it can do, what football can do. It was much bigger than football, and everybody's rocking the Saints, and yeah, your feet are wet in New Orleans at that time, but hey, it's okay because that short little quarterback, he's kicking some ass, and it's just phenomenal. I wish I was old enough to really understand what that meant to the city, but I was a 5-year-old kid back then.
Yeah, we were young, and we're gonna move on here. I not only as a fan of the Saints, as a fan of football, as a fan of sports entertainment. You look back at that moment. You look back at what Drew Brees has done for the sport. He and Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, all these amazing quarterbacks said, "Man, Drew Brees did it. He was barely 6 feet. I can do it." And look, see Russell Wilson, one of the greatest of all time. Pat Mahomes, one of the greatest of all time. The impact he's had in the NFL and sports, it's unparalleled.
Yeah, round of applause for Drew Brees.
And all three of them also having Super Bowl wins as well.
Exactly. We're going to try to stay unbiased here, but as a football fan, you could talk about him forever. I feel like even Falcons fans or Panthers fans could say, or Bucs fans could say the same thing. So we're going to move on here to the Giants, New York Giants. Jacob, take it away.
All right, so I want to commend y'all on y'all's beloved praise for Drew Brees. I think he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you feel that way.
If you could hear all that and disagree, there's something wrong.
Because all I'm hoping is, and I'm hoping for Jordan Love's sake, that Aaron Rodgers can be a good guy as well.
I think, okay, so before we go, we're going to talk about that later. Real quick, getting to the Giants, I think they have a lack of depth in their offensive linemen to accommodate Daniel Jones in the pocket. They had 2 veteran offensive linemen and 2 offensive linemen that haven't had a snap in football history. So when they head into the draft, I think they were not going to draft a offensive playmaker. They were going to go ahead into the offensive line, offensive tackles with Andrew Thomas and Matt Part, with primary defense Xavier McKinney, with 4 linebackers. Talk about this defense. Heading to the schedule, I think with this improved team, I don't think they're going to do as good as people expect them to. I think they're gonna fall to the Ravens, Bucks, and the Niners. Even though they have this new and improved offensive line, I think they're gonna go 6-10. When you head into the division, I think they're gonna fall twice to the Cowboys and once to both the Redskins and Eagles. They're gonna leave the division with 2-4. I know it's not a big season for the Giants, but I think given 1 or 2 more years, they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. Back when Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls. So we head into the Oakland Raiders. Thomas, take it away.
Oh wait. I mean to interrupt. We skipped the Jets.
Yeah,
We skipped the Jets. We can't leave any teams out here. So the Jets, I have them going 7-9 with 4-2 in the division. Looking at their schedule, they have a very a tough-ish schedule. I say ish because it's debatable. We need to see how teams do. The division, I think the division's up for grabs. We still don't know what they're gonna do. Who's gonna win the division? Whether it be the Patriots, the Bills, the Dolphins. We still don't know. So I have the division up for grabs. They play all AFC West teams, along with the Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, Browns, and Seahawks, just to name a few. I think with their draft, how their draft went, they did repair some needed repairing spots. They drafted Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, and those are just among the current starters. A lot of their drafted people are sitting the bench, as the rosters online show. They obviously lost Roddy Anderson in the offseason, which is why they drafted Denzel Mims. They have him starting. Decent wide receiver. Mekhi Becton, amazing offensive tackle. I think he'll definitely provide protection for Sam Darnold to get him either out the pocket or to get him to make those amazing throws that we've seen Sam Darnold make in the past. So I have the Jets going 7-9, 4-2 in the division. Next up, the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Raiders. They're in Las Vegas this upcoming season. I'm gonna take it. I think they had a pretty good draft. And they got Corey Littleton, a great pickup at linebacker. Marcus Mariota. I'm very intrigued to see how that battle is going to go out because, I mean, John Gruden, he likes athletic quarterbacks, and that's what Mariota is. So we'll see that develop. They got Nelson Aguilar. I mean, he's, there's some memes about him, but I think he can catch a football. They got Demarius Randall. Jason Witten, he might catch a few balls too. I know he's an old man, but he's giving it his best as well. They were one away from the playoffs last season. I think with this new expanded playoff bracket, I think they're going to get in. I think they're going to have a 10-6 record. They're going to go 3-3 in the division. I know Conrad said it earlier when he was talking about the Denver Broncos. This is just such a tough division. They're not going to win a game against the Chiefs, and they're not going to sweep either team in their division. The Broncos got a whole lot better, and the Chargers. I mean, they're a coin flip at this point. I think they're not gonna. The Raiders are not gonna beat the Saints in Las Vegas. I'm seeing that game right there. I'm excited to see that new little stadium that they're playing in. Not necessarily little, but I don't think they're gonna beat the Patriots either. Now would be the time to beat the Patriots if you play them. So, but they're gonna go 10-6. They're gonna go 10-6, and 3-3 in the division.
I like that a lot. I think the Raiders are gonna have a lot of promise to them this season, and they're playing in a pretty cool stadium too, which is definitely gonna give them a bigger boost. Now going to the Philadelphia Eagles and their really, really god-awful NFC East. I mean, talk about how bad that division is. I mean, the Cowboys barely missed the playoffs, and the Eagles barely got in just last season with their 8-8. And it was just, I don't see them making so much of an improvement this season. But I think the Eagles are going to have a really good shot at having a winning record this season. I predict them going 10-6 with a 4-2 division record. In addition to the home series with the Cowboys, Redskins, and Giants, the Eagles will be at home against the Ravens, the Bengals, the Rams, the Saints, and the Seahawks, and on the road against the Cardinals, the Browns, the Packers, the Steelers, and the 49ers. Now, the Eagles, all 16 opponents next season, counting the division teams twice, were only 124 and 131 with one tie, a 4.8 winning percentage. However, the Eagles do face the teams with the 4 best records in the league last year, the 14-2 Ravens and the 13-3 Packers, Saints, and 49ers. But the only playoff team that they face is the Seahawks, who will be at the Lincoln this season, or this for a wild card. Their 2020 opponents who reached the playoffs this year were 64-16 in 2019. Their 11 other 2020 opponents were combined 60-115 and 1 tie, and only the Rams had a winning record. I don't think the Eagles are going to have that much of a competition against this team, but I think with a better pickup, like if they could have gotten Justin Jefferson, I feel like they would have had maybe an 11-5 or 12-4 season. But I do think they will either clinch the division or come really, really close to coming up with that easier division victory. We send it over to Tristan for the 49ers.
Yeah, man, thank you, Colin. So, coming off that Super Bowl loss, the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to try and emulate that powerful offense they had last year. You saw it against the Saints, just the amount of points they put up. Jimmy G will look to continue to improve and establish himself as an elite quarterback, but the loss of Emmanuel Sanders to the Saints won't make it easy. They drafted rookie wideout Brandon Ayuk, so he's going to take Sanders' place on the roster. But the group is thin behind number 1 receiver Deebo Samuel. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends of the game, is my pick for the best fantasy tight end this year. His production and his volume will be unmatched. As for the defense, they have an elite front 4 consisting of Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, newly drafted Javon Kinlaw, and Solomon Thomas. They're going to wreak havoc on opposing running backs. But they do have a cornerback group that consists of an aging Richard Sherman, an unproven Jaquiski Tartt that will be exposed as they were last year in the Super Bowl. San Francisco will have another productive year, winning the division at 11-5. And after that, we head to the Seattle Seahawks.
I have the Seattle Seahawks. What more to say about this team than that? They're good from year to year. They're consistently good. I had them going 10-6, 3-3 in the division. This season, however, they do have an easier schedule. The division is tougher, but looking at the rest of their games, there's the Falcons, the Bills, the Dolphins, Eagles, Cowboys. Do I have to continue? In the draft, they filled a lot of defensive holes, and they continue to be an explosive offense with Wilson, Metcalf, Lockett, and elderly Greg Olsen, who they picked up this offseason from the Panthers, and a now healthy Chris Carson. So I think the Seahawks will continue their successful seasons and go 10-6. And next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thomas, take it away.
Thank you, Conrad. So some additions that we could talk about to be in favor that they improved. Bud Dupree, that's a good pickup. They got brother of T.J. Watt, Derek Watt. They're getting Big Ben back. That's always a plus. And Eric Ebron, that's he's a very solid tight end right there. A solid draft as well. But I think they go 8-8, and here's why. They started to heat up towards the end of the season. But that injury bug, it just played such a big role last season. I think that bug stays around this season. I just can't see them if they're not healthy, because they're not a bad team. I think they stay exactly the same. They go 8-8, 3-3 in the division. I think they're elite. They're good enough, but as long as they can keep themselves healthy, they could even be better than 8-8. I think they take one from the Ravens. I think they take one from the Browns, and I think they take one from the Bengals. But they also drop 3. They also drop one to each of them as well. And we're going to go over to Conrad.
Thank you, Thomas. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next. They're the hot talk right now. How well will they do? We don't know. We'll see. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, many other hot names to talk about. But what's another team with many hot names to talk about? The Browns. And how did they do last season? Might I remind you? Not so well. Not so well. With that being said, I don't think the Bucs will live up to the hype that they're receiving right now. A lot of people are thinking that they'll go almost undefeated, if not maybe 2 or 3 losses. I have them sitting at 11-5, 5-1 in the division, with the only loss in the division to the Saints. I believe they're going 1-1 to the Saints. They're taking the Panthers out both times. They're taking the Falcons out both times. They're definitely going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch. Now, looking at the rest of their schedule, again, like I said, they play the Saints twice. That's the only team that they're going to lose to in the division. The Falcons are practically off the map, so we don't even need to consider them for winning anything. They also play NFC North teams, which the NFC North is another tough division with the Vikings, Packers, Bears, and Lions.
Oh my.
Can Brady and Gronk service a team without
To make sure y'all know what just happened, Conrad, what'd you say? What were the last few teams that you just said?
the Vikings, Packers, Bears, and Lions?
Oh
and
my.
Jacob said, "Oh my!" So that was what the laugh was about.
So, Conrad.
Well, Jacob, in your satisfaction, I have the Bucs beating the Packers. So,
I
can
don't
Brady
know
and,
who Ralph
can Brady and Gronk serve as a team without their star coach in Bill Belichick? We'll see soon enough. Now, next up, we have the Tennessee Titans. Colin.
I agree with the Bucs prediction. I think it's gonna be a really interesting season, especially for the NFC South, because you have a lot of additions on the Falcons, the Saints, and you got a lot of additions on the Buccaneers that'll be worth watching. I'm gonna come in with the Tennessee Titans, and I pick a very bold statement when I say this. I think the Tennessee Titans are gonna take either a number 2 or a number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs next season. I think it's really good mentioning that their division is not what it used to be. But I also think that it's a very competitive division in the fact that these guys know what they're doing. I predict them to going 13-3 with a 5-1 division record and having them as the division champions. Now, let's keep one thing straight. They were 9-7 last season, going against one of the wild card games and going up against the Ravens, who they were very dominant against with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill in the backfield. And you have to go against what the Chiefs went through in the AFC Championship game. They're not bringing back a dominant regular season team, obviously, but instead they're bringing back a roster that got really, really hot at the right time. On paper, this roster looks a lot more like a good team than great Super Bowl contender. Now I have to go back with Conrad on the fact that the Browns were kind of the same way, but their chemistry kind of messed things up for them. The outcome of the following will decide how they're going to make it through the season. First of all, Derrick Henry has to get the ball 100%. He doesn't have to get it 100% of the time. Whenever he gets it, he just runs through people. I mean, we were very lucky as Saints fans to see that he wasn't able to play in the second to last game of the season. Otherwise, the Saints would have had a really, really tough time trying to beat this Tennessee Titans team. They're going up against the Colts twice, the Houston Texans twice, and they're going against the Bills twice. I think they sweep through the division with maybe a loss against either Houston or Indianapolis. And I think a really good team to see against them this season would probably be maybe Minnesota. Maybe they have a better NFC North team that they go against, and I believe they play both Green Bay and Minnesota. And I think they'll play a good game against Green Bay, but I think Minnesota will be a good game to watch for. So I have the Titans going in at 13-3 with a 5-1 division champion in the AFC South. Now we turn it over to our last pick with the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, that's a hot take, dude. You're taking a wild card team from last year with 9-7 with 13-3 next year.
Gotta do what you gotta do,
That's
man.
a hot take.
Absolutely.
I said that. So we're gonna end this off with the Washington Redskins. Sorry, Redskins. It just came last in the alphabet. They just added who some people think the number 1 overall player, Chase Young. I think it's Joe Burrow, but people have their opinions. This dude's gonna help out the defense incredibly. He's an elite pass rusher. He's one of the best, number 1. As well as adding a few offensive weapons. Thaddeus Moss, tight end LSU, who is an undrafted free agent. They signed a deal right after the draft ended. A few games to look out for this team is going to be the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. I believe the Redskins will prove that the Redskins are soon to be one of the top teams, and I think they're going to upset the Niners. I do think they're going to fall to the Cowboys and the Eagles at least once in their divisions, and they're going to end the season off 9-7, just missing the playoffs, and 3-3 in the division. Now I'll take it.
Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, that has been the winners and losers from the 2020 draft and each team prediction for the 2020 season. That is going to wrap it up here at the Hot Take Podcast. Make sure you let us know how you feel. You let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? Did you hate our predictions? Did you hate Thomas's voice? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe, share. Go follow us on Twitter at HotTakePC, at HotTakePC. Join us next week, next Wednesday. We'll be talking about football. It's our love. It's our passion. Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, like I just said, at HotTakePC. Thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for listening. We're sending it out.